And welcome back to Attorneys on Call. We're going to talk about a product right now that probably most of you have got sitting around in your garage, or at least not now, but at one time or another. Sitting here on our desk is Roundup, and Whitney Butcher from the Whitley Law Firm has joined Ben in studio with us. And Ben mentioned, Whitney, just before the break about the verdict in California around exposure to Roundup leading to a type of cancer. Tell us more about this case and what's going on with the Roundup cases.
Sure. So it's good to see you, Drew. And it's just kind of a crazy thing to be here talking about something that we were able to pull out of the garage.
Yeah.
It's like the baby powder cases we talked about a few years ago.
Right.
It's a commonly used household item. But basically what these lawsuits are alleging is the active ingredient that kills pests and weeds. It's glyphosate. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. But anyways, it's that active ingredient can cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer that can be very dangerous. So the gentleman in California, that's his case has been in the news. A jury, after a 3-month trial almost, just reached a verdict and awarded him $289 million. That was $250 million punitive damages because of the company's conduct being so egregious. Essentially, he was a groundskeeper for a couple of schools around San Francisco and California, sprayed Roundup and Ranger Pro, another product manufactured by Monsanto, and sprayed them couple times a week for about 5 years, and ultimately was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There were a few times where the hose came loose, he testified, and some of the product actually got on his skin, caused him to break out into a rash, and he contacted the company and said, do I need to be concerned about this? Never got a response.
Never got a response. And if you look at this, Ben, you said if you look at this this large bottle here, right, you're not going to see anything written on there that says may cause cancer.
There's warning labels here on the bottom, and
right,
it really just talks about making sure that you don't get it in your eye. So I mean, there's nothing on there that is
doesn't say anything about skin exposure.
No,
yeah,
no, and it's. When I first heard about this, I think my first reaction may be the same reaction that you're having now at home. Is it just, wait a minute,
Yeah.
It doesn't, everything causes cancer. We hear that, we hear that. So when we started, when people started reaching out to us, people that Whitney has talked to and that have had this diagnosis, and then can literally recall the times that they used Roundup, and in some cases, they've even kept copies of receipts, but they have this knowledge of use of it. They developed the exact same cancer that the fellow in California, and I thought, there's something to this. And so that's something that we need as a firm to invest in and investigate and see what we can do to help people.
Can you, Whitney, talk about that investigative process that you go through?
With each individual case?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, after the verdict came out, I started getting some calls that weekend and then that next Monday where folks had been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, had no other risk factors, had no family history, and thought, I used Roundup for years. So someone gives us a call, they'll speak to me or someone else with our firm. We'll ask a couple of questions about their frequency of use, some other health history type things. Then basically we just need to get their medical records and be able to document, the proof of use or the proof they used the product, and see if we can pursue a claim for them.
But Ben had talked about this earlier, how you will go to whatever you need to do to talk to experts around the country and fly to California, go wherever you need to go to get the information to be helpful.
Yeah, so the experts in the science in these Roundup cases has been one of the biggest battlegrounds, and it's been going on for a couple of years. So before a case like the one in California can go to trial, the plaintiffs or the people who are hurt have to have enough expert evidence that Roundup can generally cause cancer. So not necessarily that Roundup caused this gentleman's cancer, just that it can generally cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and all the different variotypes. So the plaintiffs had presented 7 different types of experts. They've gone through hearings and motions and all this different types of discovery, and the judge ultimately said the jury can hear what these experts have to say, which is the active ingredient in Roundup can cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. All this was kind of brought to the forefront back in 2015. The international body that kind of researches known carcinogens with the World Health Organization actually determined the active ingredient glyphosate to be a probable carcinogen. So that's kind of what got the science to really start looking at it, and then these experts, independent of the lawsuits, to be looking at the possible link.
So, Ben, the plaintiffs will say, hey, you knew that this was a carcinogen, but didn't inform the public.
Right, and so anytime you see these huge verdicts and you see them in the, they always make news because the verdicts are really high.
Huge,
They're
yeah.
huge, and most people don't realize this, but a lot of times the person who wins that verdict is not going to see that kind of money. It's going to be appealed. There'll be a settlement, but it's the headline that grabs attention. But a lot of times when you see those huge headlines like this in the talc powder case, there's something that has made that jury mad. Something has pissed them off, and they want to punish the company.
I see.
And you can't. This is America. We can't put companies in jail.
Right.
So the only way you punish a company in America is, what's the most important thing that they're worried about?
Money.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you take their money. You know, that's how you don't take all their money, because we need innovation. We need corporations. But the only thing that's going to get a company's attention is, wow, that hurt. You know, we need to do better product research. We need to warn the public more, because unless you send that message, they're just going to keep making the money. So big verdicts mean that something has pissed the jury off. In this case, where if they were provided documents of being warned of having these issues and they still choose not to do anything about it, is there an alternative chemical? Anything like that, and it's usually based on finding out the companies had prior knowledge. That's what really pisses off juries, to give these huge verdicts.
Yeah.
But remember, folks, it's not, the people aren't going to get $289 million. You know, that's
Right.
going to be appealed. You know, and so what will usually happen is that the companies and the person that's hurt will enter into a settlement discussion so they would not keep appealing it.
Right.
And it'll usually be settled for much less than what the verdict is.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the really sad things about this verdict out of California, so it's relatively recent litigation, the Roundup cases.
Yeah.
This particular gentleman's case was able to be fast-tracked because he's terminally ill, and he's not expected to live much longer. So they really expedited getting his day in court. And so, like Ben said, the company's already stated they're going to appeal the verdict. It's very likely he won't see any money because of his unfortunately shortened lifespan due to the cancer diagnosis.
I think what's really scary about this is that probably everyone watching this program right now has used this
Yes.
or knows
I've
someone
used
who's
it.
used it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
And so if you're not safe with a product like this that you see on the hardware store shelves forever, I mean, it's pretty scary to think that a corporation that has that information, I mean, where does the FDA come in
Well, I
all
mean, if you
this?
think about this, I mean, this is the history of our country. We used to
Yeah.
put asbestos in cars.
Oh, yeah.
We used to think asbestos was this miracle product that
Yeah.
was a fire retardant that they put in homes and in schools. A couple of years later, it's a huge carcinogen, and it is completely gone, you know.
And so if we think, I mean, why does everybody have Roundup in their garages, right? It's because it's the most effective at killing pests and weeds.
Yeah.
The downside, though, is these potential health consequences or the potential risks associated with it. And so that's why the labeling is so important. Is it important enough to me to kill my weeds with this product, knowing that this side effect can occur?
And then, you know, let the consumer make the choice.
Yeah,
You know, that's the
right.
idea. Is
Yes.
This is our economy is based on consumer choice. The market speaks. So if the consumer is given proper information, hey, there is a risk that you could develop non-Hodgkin's lymphoma using our product. We want you to know that risk. So you now can make a decision. All right, I'm going to go to the hardware store. There's an organic weed killer over here.
Yeah, right.
It may not work as good. I may have to spray more. I may have to spend like 30 more minutes outside. Or there's this one over here, and I can read the warning. I don't, you know, having the yard perfect.
But at least you have the choice.
Why not just give
Yeah.
the consumer the choice, and so
Right.
that they can make that choice? They are not giving anybody a choice because they're not warning people of these risks.
Whitney, how does this relate to some of the other cases that you work on, like some of the pharmaceutical cases? And I know one product called Essure.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, totally different product. It's actually a permanent form of birth control, also manufactured by the large company Bayer, which bought Monsanto and now kind of owns the Roundup cases. So Bayer has this product called eSure. It's basically a very small coil that's essentially slingshot into a woman's fallopian tubes. And the point is that it's an alternative, a non-surgical alternative to basically getting a tubal ligation. So a woman
Okay.
says, I don't want to have any more children. The doctor says, here, I've got this in-office procedure that we can do, and it'll serve the same purpose. You won't have to worry about it. So the theory behind it is this little coil in each fallopian tube causes an inflammatory response that leads to scar tissue building up around the coil. Then the egg's not able to transfer, pregnancy doesn't occur, right? So the issue, though, is those coils can perforate the fallopian tubes, end up in other parts of the body. They can migrate and become embedded and require surgical removal. This product was not intended to be removed, so it's like transvaginal mesh. It's like the Mirena cases. Well, Mirena was intended to be removed, but once it gets where it's not supposed to be, it is a very difficult procedure to remove it. So a lot of times with our clients, what we've seen are women in their 40s who didn't want to have any more children, but perhaps weren't really ready for a full hysterectomy. So if the eSure device fails, they have to go through a hysterectomy, then that changes really the future of their lives.
Absolutely, and we're going to get to more of that in our next segment, and also want to make sure that everyone knows that if you're considering a call to Whitney or to Ben or the Whitney Law Firm, it is a free consultation. You will not be charged. You can simply call the 800 number. The attorneys will get back to you in a timely fashion, and you can ask your questions then. You can also go to the website. You can email in or go to the website and email in your question as well. It's whitleylawfirm.com. Back in just a moment, right after this.